Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. Look, I'm sitting in Crusty's seat. It's all bolted in, but it wasn't an easy task. 3 tries to get this to fit in the car, but I had to do some major chassis work to it to get this seat where it's to now. So I'm going to take you through all that here now, so stick around. Well, in the last video, I went and got all the front all mounted. I'm happy that that's all done here now. And if you notice, there's a little addition to the engine bay. Ooh, headers. Thanks, Charles. One of the boys dropped them off to me the other day. And they should work. I do some modifications to them. But I figured I'd bolt them on there to see what they're all about. They're going to be deadly. Anyway, what we're going to move on to now is I want to get into some fun stuff. I got to work on the seating, dash, steering, all that type of stuff, get that figured out. I figured I'm going to get the seat mounted, then get the dash mounted, then work on the steering column, then work on getting the rack and pinion done. Now that was an interesting one because I got to narrow the rack. Won't go too far ahead on ourselves. I've been sitting around here, playing around here, and I wanted to show you what's going on here. I run into some issues. I knew this was going to happen. It's just that I played around with it to figure it out. Now, this is the seat I'm running. I've been playing around. I got one here for this Mustang. It's one of them Crusty seats. Them aluminum seats. One of them here. One of them big fancy, yes. One of them there. One of them aluminum seats. And I'm not fussy on how it fits in the car, because I was going to say I'll order one. I've had these seats in my Chevette, and I've always liked them. They kind of hug my big old ass. And I'm old school. I have a couple of these upstairs. So it's the seat I'm going to go with. So I'm going to build the car around that seat. And this is what I'm into here now. I figured I'd just lay this in place here now. I have this set up as an old piece of scrap steel I got there to show you where the firewall will roughly be ending here. So when you look in through here and look down, you'll see the frame rail down there, okay? You see the frame rail crossing over. So any exhaust on the other side will pass down through there. So the floor will go down an angle there, but that'll come straight up there from that location there. This will come up here straight from that. So that'll come over, come up, there'll be a little kick panel on it, and then it'll come straight up from there. But this will give you an idea where the firewall would be too. And all my pedals and everything will be forward of that. So I'm willing to say my pedals will probably be in this area here, ahead of this, right? So I got the seat put in there, and I got it touching the roll bar here, tied against the roll bar, just for curiosity's sake. And I'm going to sit in that and show you all my issues. So here's where I'm to sat in the car, okay? The seat is all the way back into that crossbar, and my feet are basically stretched out right tight to the firewall. Now, if you go way back to the videos when I designed the chassis in this car, I wanted to have my feet. So when my feet were against the firewall, my knees were locked this way. So when I come back for gas pedal and brake, there'll be a sensible curvature on my knees. Now, things I'm having problems with here is that I'm too far forward, okay, first of all. Also, I'm too high in the car. My head is pretty close here, so if I had a helmet on, I'm going to be hitting this here. So what I got to do is I got to move the seat back, and I got to move it down. Now, I'll show you the problem I'm going to run into by moving the seat down. So here's the problem I'm having, okay? Now, there's 3/4 of an inch up on that plywood there. I don't mind that so much. But if you look and notice where the seat is too, the seat sits right on top of that frame rail, okay? The problem I got is there's no way I could lower that with the frame rail where it's to, okay? So I've sat down and thought about notching the frame rail and doing it all. And one thing I did is I set the seat up in the middle here and put a piece of plywood on the bottom of it. And when I laid the seat down into it, I found that the height was a lot better, and it even to the point that I had to come up a small bit. This was actually, when I mounted it here, it was too low. Now, one of the reasons I forgot to point out is this here, the way I built this car. Right here, I have 2 inches on this car here. A lot of people build these cars and they mount the frame rails on the bottom. That would have given me lots of room on top of the frame here. The problem that I run into when you're doing that, if you're making a street car, is that when you mount it down here, you got nowhere to run exhaust underneath the car, okay? I do it this way. I mount it to the top of the frame rail, so that way I can probably do a small notch here, and then I can run a great big exhaust muffler, 2.5, 3 inch, whatever exhaust back through the car. I got room underneath the car to put stuff. If I wanted to put a transcooler or something down underneath the car here, a muffler, something like that. By putting the frame rail on the bottom of the frame, I've only got this much room to put a muffler, and the muffler is going to end up being hanging down. Now I have roughly 5 inches from here to here where the floor would go for a muffler or an exhaust or something like that. Now, so that's the first problem I run into. Now this rear bar, the one I made for this here, what I need to do, I need to move it back. So what I got to do is I'm going to have to remove this bar. I'm going to have to make a new bar to go back and across this way. Now, up here on the top, see this here? This looks like it's right underneath this here, but the way I sit, I'm still forward here. I measured up myself from here forward. And the back of my head to that roll bar with that seat there now, I have over 6 inches. Now, the rules state it's got to be no more than 6 inches. By moving this back, just brings me back closer to the roll cage. If it's straight above me, it'll be fine. But lowering myself in the car will give me more room. So what I'm going to do here now is haul this bar out, move the seat back, figure out, you know, roughly how far back I'm going to have to move the seat so I have an idea on that bar. But what I'm going to do is figure out what I'm going to do with this frame rail. So if you look here at the frame rail, there's the frame rail passing, and that's roughly where the seat is too, okay? Now you can see the seat is about 1 inch past this side over here, okay? It's about 1 inch out past this here. The idea I got in my head is to take the frame rail here, okay, and tip it in. Move it over, this would have to be what? From the outside the frame rail to there, 3 inches, 4 inches. Move the frame rail, this side of the frame rail over there, 4 inches. So the frame rail will come back, kick over, and go back again. That will give me lots of room in here to lower the seat down. I can make cross mounts and everything for that to mount down into the car there. So that's the idea I got in my head to do. I was going to notch it, but I did only make a thin rail out of it. I want to keep the strength in the rail. And by moving the rail over, everything stays the same. I won't be changing the integrity of the end of the car. I'll show you this. Take the seat out. What I'll be doing is I'll be taking the frame rail, moving it over, and then coming back this way. That's all I'll be doing. I'm planning on leaving this section here so that I can turn around and I'll put a loop there. I'll just notch it out and I'll put a loop there for the drive shaft and leave all the strength there. So just by notching this here, what I'll end up doing is I'll end up building a new piece here now that'll kick over and come back here, okay? And it'll put me about 4 to 5 inches. This side here will be moved over 4 to 5 inches to here so that I can actually get a seat then to drop down between the rails. Then I can actually build everything, because I still got to put a door bar along here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a structure going from the chassis rail out to the door bar to mount the seat on it. Or mount the seat too. So what I'm going to do here first is I want to figure out how far back I need the seat. So I'm going to remove this bar and lay the seat in place and get an idea where it should be. So now I got the seat moved back, and I think it's moved back about 4 inches. Okay, I'm back farther in the car. The one thing I can do here now is I can lock my knees and my feet are not touching the firewall, so I still can move the seat ahead. But I think I'm going to use this location to draw everything off, because this is as far back as I'm going to want to have it, because I know this is actually hitting the frame rail on the back side of the car here, but I don't need to go back any further. I'm still ahead of the roll bar. I'm about, oh wow, I'm about 3 to 4 inches ahead of the main loop, but I'm still too high, so I'll get all that when I lower it down. But I'm happy with this here, and let's size up what got to be done. So as you can see here now, the seat is actually touching the bar coming up here. I don't mind that, because I'll probably just move it ahead, probably something like that, that'll be fine, okay? Now the problem you got here now is when you look across here, from one bar to the other, the seat is actually behind the bar, okay? Because the way I'm in the car. So what I need to do now is I need to build a new bar to come across here, and I got to put bends in the end of it, okay? To go around the bar like that. That's fine. That problem is not an issue. What I got to figure out now here is I got to figure out where I want to kick out and go back, and how much I want to go over. And I think I said roughly about 5 inches. So I'll figure that out, because what I noticed here, what I want to have done, This here is the center of the dash for where the steering wheel comes up to. And I'm trying to duplicate that on the car because I want to run the stock dash in this, okay? So when you stand back here and line up the center of that spot with the center of the seat. I don't want to have this type of scenario going on in the car where you're sitting in the car and the steering is off center, okay? I would like to have the seat in the center of the steering wheel. So I'm going to figure out this here, draw something up, and I'll just show you what I'm going to do. So here's what I'm going to do. What I got done here now is I got the chassis rail set up, drawn on top of my bench in full scale, okay? This is the rear cross member that the roll cage is mounted on. And these are the two forward rails going to the front of the car, and the seat will mount right here, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I got all the measurements and everything there. They're 2 inches wide, the distance from outside the rails, all that is accurate to the frame rails. I'm going to go in now, take some measurements. I'm going to move the frame rail over. I'm going to draw out what I think would work for the frame rail and see what it looks like back here. See how narrow it gets back here. So here's what I come up with. I moved the frame rail. This mark right here is the edge of the seat, okay? The seat sits here. This is the outermost edge of the seat itself. So I come over another inch or so from that. This is the frame rail that I want to make. It's this section here, okay? And all it is, I measured over, put a parallel to that, and then I drew the straight lines, made it 2 inches wide. Up here, I just guesstimated that. I measured up 18 inches because I had roughly, I think, about 16 inches to the front of the seat. And I said to myself, I'll come ahead 2 inches from there and give me 18 inches. And I just come over here and went to 20 inches on this one, drew a straight line, draw another one parallel to it. That's how I got that angle. I never got particular and drew things up and whatnot, okay? And I just duplicated that on the other side. So I got these erased here now, just on either end, but I left them there so they had reference to them. But you'll actually see the frame rail go back, kick over and go back to the frame rail here. I'll put a drive shaft loop in here then, going this way, and I'll leave all that there. I'll just have the center taken out for the drive shaft. And there's what you'll have, the way the seat will mount in the car, okay? It'll sit down inside this pocket. I'm probably going to tip it a small bit anyway, and it's going to be mounted on the bottom of the rail. Probably come up an inch from the bottom of the rail because I don't need it that low. I don't need a full 3 inches. I need roughly 2 inches to lower the seat down, and that's what I intend to do with it. So, but that is roughly or basically what I got to do. Now out here to be another rocker bar going out through here. Then I'll run 2 bars across this way here underneath the seat, and that's what the seat will bolt to. I want the seat to be mounted to the roll cage in the car, and also be actually joined onto the rocker bar so that when if anything did happen, the seat remains part of the car. Be part of the roll cage more than anything else, right? So yeah, and I just sized up here. Here's the edge of the seat, and this would be the edge of the seat on the other side. This is how much room I got to put in a draw shaft loop, okay? So it's 7 inches or something there, so there's lots of room for a draw shaft to pass through the middle of it there. So it shouldn't be an issue. Other than that, what I'm going to do here now is, now that I have an idea of what I got to do, I'm going to go cut out some strips on Bristol board, and I'm going to make these in templates so I get this angle here. Same as I built the frame rails before, I'm going to have it so I can cut these angles. Up here on this section here now, all I intend to do here is I'm going to cap this on the end, or just run it in and weld it. I'm not going to get into this angle here, trying to cut the frame rail out, because I want to weld this in before I take this out, okay? All I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the inside of the frame rail up here, and cut the inside of the frame rail up here, leave everything else alone, put this frame in. This is just going to lay flat against the side of the rail, and I'll weld it on. Once I got that welded in, that's solid there to there, I'll end up cutting the top off of this and the other side and the bottom, same with back here, and take this piece out. Then what I'll do is I'll just plate over the end of this here, okay? I'm not going to get too crazy with trying to do all this here because I want to keep everything the way it was, and I'm just going to turn around and move the frame rail inboard. Just a little tiny bit, just for the purpose of the seat. So here's all I went and did. I went and got some Bristol board, and I measured it off 2 inches. I cut off a couple of strips, 2 inches wide. That's how wide the frame rail is in the car. So then I went and turned around, and I set it up on the table here where everything is to, okay? And I took a strip along here, and I put it where I thought it looked good, and the angle that it was on and everything, because as you can see here, my drawing was a little bit off, because when you take something like this here that's 2 inches exactly, and then you draw on the outside of it, it usually adds to it. But I knew what my distance was from here to here. Okay, I wanted a 4.5 inches moved inboard, so that's what I got there, is 4.5. And then I come down here and I parallel that to that down here, 4.5. stuck some magnets on it just to hold it in place. Then I put this one down here, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to scribe these here where I want them to intersect. I want this one to intersect here, and I want this one to intersect through here, so this one here got this angle, and that way I'll have 2 templates of the frame rails. All I'm doing is taking the points where 2 of these meet here, and the points where 2 of these meet here. Cut that off there. This one's going to be tricky, because I got to remove this here. Remove that. Remove that. And remove that. So there you have it. I got my 2 frame rails figured out. Here's the way it all goes together. So all I'll do now is I'll just take this here and I'll use this to cut out my piece of steel. I'll use that there to cut out a piece of steel, and then I'll have the right angles. So I had another piece of 2x3 over there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out them sections, the 2x3. All I did is I just laid it on top of it with a magnet, like you would, and marked it out. And then used the square and drew straight lines out, and I cut that off. Now, one of the nice things about it, here's the small piece. What I can do now is I'll take this one here, and after I get this one cut off, I'll start with this one here, and I'll cut this one out, and I'll cut this angle here. Then when that's done, I can flip this over here and cut this angle here. When that's done, I can flip this around the other way. Here. Like so, and that, then I just got a straight cut to cut off here, and I got no wastage. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, mark these out, and get all these pieces cut out. It's just straightforward, cut with a grinder, and once I get them cut out, we'll take it from there. There you have it. All I did is I cut each individual cut, and if you notice the way some of these fits together, that will actually, when you turn around and make a corner, like so, that's the way that will go, like that on the car. But when you flip them upside down, they make a straight line, okay? When they're cut evenly across the floor, from side to side. And you can see what I got done here. Made a cut there, made a cut there. This is this one here. That's that cut. And that's that cut there. A little bit like so. Then I flipped it over and used the end there. And I cut that one there. And then I flip this one over here. And then I just come down here and I cut it off straight. Right? So I got that. These are all made there now. All the pieces are ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean all them up with the grinder there now. 24 grit on the grinder right here. Get all the rust, I would say, right, clean all this up. Get it ready and V the ends of it here. I'll show you that one's done. I V's my ends. And I'll duplicate, make sure 2 of these, like I'll lay them on top of each other. Make sure 2 of them are the same, all right? And compare the 2 of them, because I'm going to have 2. If you got one's a little bit longer than the other, it won't be symmetrical. So I'll get that all cleaned up now. Okay, so I got them all grinded down, cleaned them all up, right? Never got carried away with it, just knocked all the heavy scale, everything off them. And then I turned around, and what I did is I V'd out the ends here. You can see where I beveled back the ends here. You see the bevels on them? I done that so when I go to weld them, you'll end up with something like this here, with a gap there so I can get a good deep bead right down inside the weld. So I can actually get the penetration right on through the thing. Then I cleaned up my edges. I double checked, laid 2 of these together, clamped them together, made sure the angles were the same, they were the same length. I did the same thing with these 2. Okay, once I had all that done, what I went and did then is I put just through the large piece of steel I had left over. I just laid that on the bench here. And I done a measurement off of here, okay, just so that it's parallel, down to here, and found 2 parallel lines from here. And all I did is I welded this piece to the bench, okay? I welded it here, I welded it here, and then I welded it here. Then I fit this piece in there, so it just fell into place and lined up with this here, okay? I'm not concerned about having it, and as long as this is parallel here on the car, it doesn't bother me. So if this is parallel here, this angle here is going to be parallel to this here. So when you look down through there, that's parallel, okay? So all I did then is I tack welded it here and here, and I put another one on the inside here. So that one there now is all structurally done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay this one on top of that one. Clamp it on the end, put a couple of spot welds on it, fit it up here so it looks right. Then I'm going to do the same process here, put that piece there, tack weld that in. Then I'm going to break it from the bench, weld up these here, so two of them are the same on the three sides. So all I got left to do is weld the other side, and which is the bottom side here, and that'll be all that's left. So then when I cut them apart, two of them will be identical. They will pull a bit here, okay? On what you call it, when you start welding everything, but that's the reason why I got two of them welded together, because so when they do pull, both of them are going to pull the same way, okay? And they're holding each other from moving by welding two of them together, and that way I'll keep this here level, I'll keep this here level going down through here, and I'll just run a bead here, bead here, bead here, and a bead here. I'll cut it off the bench here, I'll flip it over and I'll weld the bottom side of this one and the inside piece, that type of thing. So once they're all welded in, I'll just cut them in half and then weld the two other sides, and I'll have two of them ready. So I'm going to go ahead now and get all them welded up. So I got them all welded up. Still a bit warm, right? So got them done. I'm happy with them. When I cut them apart, I turned around and they never moved around much. So I was pleased that I figured they would have popped and like that, but they never. So they held their shape right. Then I cleaned up where they were welded onto the bench and whatnot, where they were welded together. I had two of them welded together to weld them up. Then I cleaned off the bench. But the first thing I do, I want to let that cool, and while I'm at that, I'm going to go over to the car here now, setting it up so I can actually start fitting them in place and marking them. There is a quick mock-up. What I got done is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood clamped to the bottom of the rail so it'll lay flat there, and I got a piece of steel going across there that I can lay on so they're flush to the top of the rail there and flush to the top of the rail there. I measured these distances here and have them parallel, so they're parallel to the factory rail. Right here now, I've after marking it, straight across there, and straight across over there. Right there, you can see the pencil mark. And what I got to do now, because you'll never be able to do it later, is I got to take these out and I got to cut the insides of these rails, okay? In here. I got to cut them there first before I weld these in, because I'll never get at that inside section. So all I got to do then is cut the top and the sides and the bottom on the other side as well. And that way, the rail will just come out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do one rail, finish it, and then do the other one and finish it. So I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to take these off now, mark these here inside, and make a cut down through here and a cut down through here. So I got them all put in place there now again. As you can see over there, I went and I got a cut. I mean my own light. Here we go. You can see I cut it there, and I cut it up the corners on both sides. I have it cut right there, and I also got a cut right here. So then I went and put them in place there. I went and put the pieces across there again, and I ran this across the top of it, make sure that it was the same height. Did the same thing back here and run into some troubles, and I had to use some cardboard to shim it up a bit, because for some reason it just seems too low right here. So I had to shim it up so that there, so this here would pass right over the top of that there, right? So now that I'm happy with all that, the distance here is parallel and is in the position that I wanted. I got everything cut. I'm going to go ahead now and weld them in. So I got two of them welded in. Okay. I haven't got them welded on the inside here, and they're not welded on the bottom. Neither one of these were welded on the bottom either, because when I take the chassis off, I'm going to flip it up to the side and weld that. I hate welding overhead, and I'd say a lot of you guys do. So I'm going to set it all up so that I'm welding flat or upside down or vertical or something like that when I go through that. So I got these welded in now, let them cool down. I'm going to go ahead now and cut these out, this one here out. And just basically take my time, cut that down through there, cut that across there and down through there, get that piece out of my way. So I got two of them cut out. They came out really good. One thing I can point out that you should always do, anytime you got to cut off sections like this here, this is welded here and is also welded up here, up to the front of it, and there's a weight and everything on top of it, okay? Always be concerned about that the blade is going to bind up on you, okay? So what I always do first is you look at this here. The first thing you're going to want to do is come up here and cut across here and down here, okay? They're the easiest cuts you got to do. The hardest one is the bottom one. After you cut two of these and you cut the bottom one, it's likely that you're going to run into an incident where that's going to bind up and the blade's going to explode on you. So cut the bottom first, okay? Come up the side and save this one for last and make sure you're not in the way and be very gentle. Usually what I do is when I cut through it, I'll go through and I'll leave about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'll just start tapping it from the top side and cut the last 1/4 of an inch down through it that way. And you'll see it, because every now and again, two of these may bind up. This side never binded up, that side did. Luckily for me, that it wasn't that bad. She chewed up the blade a bit, but she never exploded the blade. So you got to keep an eye on that. But now everything is at rest here now. Everything is fine. There's no problems here. So what I'm going to do, I was sizing this up. I was just going to cap the ends of this, and I don't like the look of it. So I'm going to cut this across this way here now on both of them. Cleave both of them up, and I'm going to put a plate on all this here. Make up a nice plate that goes from about the middle of this here to come out and it'll wrap around here. And I'll probably do a triangle or something on it, similar to the way I done the other one. So that way it'll be a plating system on this corner. And I'm going to clean up these two spots here. So I'm going to go on and get these cleaved off, cleaned up, ready to go, and get that all cleaned up. Got them all cut off and cleaned up, and I got them all cleaned up. Okay, now I'm sizing everything up. I got to weld this down through here. Okay, where this comes in, where I cut it off. I'm going to weld that there first before it does anything else. But I'm going to make a plating system to go over this now. And here's what I come up with. I don't know if you can see it there. There you go. This is what I come up with. This is the width of the opening in the rail. And this is going to go into one rail, and I'm going to bend this around the corner of the other one. I'm going to put a plug weld here, and a plug weld here, a plug weld here, and a plug weld here. So they're going to be right on the edge of the 2x3, the angle that is on. And that's all I'll do then, and then I'll weld it right around this here whole perimeter, all the way around. And I think that should be strong enough. So I'm going to go ahead now, cut this one out, and then use that one to make a second one, and have two of them cut out, drill a few holes in them that needs to be drilled in them, and go from there. So here's what I come up with. Just a simple little 1/8 plate. Bent it on an angle so it went around the corner. And what'll end up happening, if you look here, that's welded on the corner there, and that's welded on the inside corner. So them welds there are right on the edge here, and they're right on the edge here. So I'll add strength to it, right? I'll weld the 4 of them up first, grind them flat, so there's a nice finish on them, and then I'll go around with a bead around the whole outer edge of that there. So I got 2 of them. I got one for the other side there. I'm going to go ahead now and get 2 of them installed. And there you have it. I got 2 of them installed. I plug welded them, grinded the plug welds off, then I welded them all the way around the perimeter. I haven't got the bottom welded yet. I'm going to wait till I get the chassis off and flips it upside down, and I'll weld the bottom then. Because I still got to weld the bottom up here as well. But that's the way that was before when I had that piece there cleaved off. So now I got 2 of them sections all done. So now I can start working on the seat, okay, over here. So I can start figuring out something for the seat. There's going to be a rocker bar going along here. So I got to figure out some way now to tie in a few brackets so I can put seats, braces on it so I can angle the seat and figure all that out. So let's work on that. So I've been here now playing around with seat locations. And this piece of plywood I got clamped on this here, this is the bottom of the rail. And what I got done is I got that coming in across there. And that is supported by the jack, and that is level, parallel to the bottom of that there. So that would be the bottom of the rail there, okay? That's the bottom section. So I tried sitting there, and I found it was low and stuff like that. And I got this piece of plywood, and I laid it on top of it, okay? So I turned around then, and I laid the seat on it, and got it positioned and everything, and sized it all up, and is what I liked, okay? That little height there, a little 3/4 inch height. I might go a little bit small, bit higher. I got lots of headroom now. I'll show you that in this pic here. You'll see I was doing a test fit, and you can see how I sit in the car, so there's lots of headroom there. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm trying to figure out my seat angle. Now, I'm a big boy. These seats usually just lay flat on the floor, okay? And I'm not fussy on that, okay? I sit in that, I just find it very bit uncomfortable. I've always liked to have these seats tip back a small bit, having the front a little bit higher on the front than on the back. So all I went and did is I took this piece of 1-inch bar and I mounted that underneath the front of it. And that will be my height. It doesn't seem like much. It's about 1 inch that it raises the front up. I find there's a big difference. So when I put the seat in now, my seat runner is not going to be flat on the floor. It's going to be tipped up 1 inch in the front for the bolts to bolt in. So my floor is going to be on a bit of an angle there for that. I want to build the car around me, okay? This is the seats that I like. I played around. I have one of them aluminum seats here. The Crusty seats, I played around with it and just sized it all up. I'm still comfortable with these. These are old school. I've used them in the past. I like them. I like them where the bottom are curved like this here. And sometimes you don't even need covers for them. And they're extremely light. So, you know, and besides that, they're cheap. Every year out to the swap meet, I usually see a couple of these for sale. So it's one of those things. Everybody wants the new, brand new stuff, fancy stuff. I'm old school. I like the old way things are. So I like these seats better. So what I'm going to do here first, now that I got that figured out, this is what I have here. So what I got to do is, my idea I got in my head is I'm going to run, I got to put a rocker bar in here, okay? So I'm going to run a bar from here to here first of all, okay? Because I need something for the seat to tie into. I'm going to run a rocker bar along here. Then I'm going to run 2 pieces of 1-inch pipe across this way here, from there to there, and then I'm going to run up 2 braces this way here, and they'll be on an angle. They won't be flat. Like this will come, it'll be butted up against the back one, and it'll come up, and it'll be an angle bracket on the top side of the front one. I got to have it that way. I played around with the idea of moving the front bar up, just having 2 flat sections, but it's too complicated because where the rocker bar is here, I like to have it in the same position on the rocker bar for the 2 bars going forward, and the same position over there. And the seat riser itself will be what will be different. So I've thought about this. I can tell you right now, it is extremely hard to find anything online about seat mounts, okay? All kinds of seat stuff, bolt them in stock floors, all that type of stuff, and them seat risers that you get, that you buy that bolts onto the sides of the seats. There's nothing I can find on YouTube of guys that are actually like tube chassis, frames like that. There's one there on Pro Mod cars, and it's a fiberglass molded seat, and it's mounted into a little oval steel frame. That's the only thing I can find. But I can't find anybody that actually sits down and makes a frame of some sort that the seat will bolt to. So this one here now will be the first one that I know of anyway. So I'm going to go ahead now. And the rocker bar, I'm going to make that there now and put that in place. Now, the thing with it is, I had to change this bar here, going across here. I got to change that. That's got to go out, go back. I'm not going to worry about that right now because I want to get in here and do some work in here. So I'll do that at a later date. But I had the original bar that went straight across. That's no good to me now. It's a waste of pipe, or is it? It's long enough that I can cut it off and I can weld it here. So I'm going to take that bar that I had cut for there, and I'll cut it off and fit it in between there. And clean all that up down there and get ready and get that welded in. I just squared up the edge here. And I come over here and I marked out my length that I needed. And I just chopped it off. I got the little piece of cardboard here wrapped around with a bit of tape on. So I got a nice straight edge to go up. And I'll just put that where I want it. Put the measuring tape there. And I'll turn around and I'll just chop that off. And that'll be my rocker bar. Now I got the rocker bar put in across there, just got it laid in place, and I got it mounted so the bar, the upper side of the bar is flush to the bottom of the frame rail, because I want to have it that way so that when I can lay my floor section in now, I can judge it off of that. And I want to mount my bracing right at the bottom of that as well, or the cross bracing. I want to put it right at the bottom of this rail, so I want to have it so that it crosses over and like it doesn't cup on the end. It's like it's kind of a U-shaped thing, the weld on the side of that. So I got that there in place now, and over here I got it spaced out from the rocker plate so I can actually weld it up after the fact. I'm going to weld all that in there now when it takes the body off, but I can weld the frame rails onto the plates after the fact when it's all said and done. I got it done the same on both sides. Right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to get these welded in so much all the way around the top side here on both sides and get that done. So I got that welded in. And now I'm figuring out the seat mounting unit. So I'm going to, I sized it up the whole point of doing it in an X and then just putting tabs on it. Because most of the, like the tube chassis cars, I noticed the floors in them are all X's. The problem I'm running into here now is that the seat is over this way more. So I'm thinking that the 2 bolts over here are going to land right on top of the X over here on this side, right? So I'm just going to put 2 diagonal bars straight across here and then run 2 pieces of angle iron this way that the seat will bolt to, okay? But there's going to be tubing going here, 1-inch tubing, and then I'm going to run 2 braces back this way here for the seat to mount on. It's just that I'm going to have to lay the seat in place here now, get an idea where's 2, and mark it back here and up here where the 2 cross members got to go in, and I'm just going to put them in right on the bottom of the rail and then go from there. So I have the seat laid in place, I have the piece of angle iron underneath it, and I have the seat set up where I got it to. And what it is, I got it all the way back as far as it can go, to the point that it's, I got to come ahead a small bit. It's touching the frame rail down there, so I got to bring slide it ahead a small bit. So I notice I got to do that. Also, right here, I was looking at the dashboard. Right here, this tab right here is the center of the steering wheel. So in order for me to have that second tab over in the center of the steering wheel, that's where the seat's got to be, okay? Because I'd like to have it that way. By doing so, over here, the seat is very close to the side of the frame rail, which I knew that anyway. That's the reason why I moved it over like I did. So what I got to do now is I got to scooch it ahead a small bit, and I'll be happy with that. And I got to mark it. We're going to put the pipe behind it and forward. I'm going to have the pipes behind the mounting holes and in front of the mounting holes, so that way when I put the angle iron across this way, it'll I'll have a spot that I can come up through and bolt to with the brace. Like, you know, I like having a brace underneath the seat. Like, you'll notice now me with this here, I'll have everything so everything's mounted to steel. It's solid mounted. I don't believe in mounting these seats to steel floor, okay? Like, put your floors in and drill 4 holes and bolt it down. It's not safe, okay? You know, you should have all your components, like your seats and all that type of stuff, mounted solid to the frame of the car, and that's what I'm going to do here now, because if any predicament ever happens and this car gets destroyed or whatever, I'm going to stay with the frame, okay? That's where you want to stay with. In this little boxed area here, you want to stay in there. You don't want to be thrown away from that. So you mount your seats to a solid point, which is, in this case, I'm going to mount it to a bracing that I'm going to make that's in the car, and then I'll just sheet my floors over with it and drill 4 holes. And it won't look like nothing in the car. It'll be just 4 holes, but it'll be a solid structure underneath the car for it to weld to. So I'm going to move that ahead there now, mark the 2 locations, and get my lengths of the 2 pieces of 1-inch pipe, and I'll get them cut, cleaned up, and fit in place. So here's what I come up with. Just a piece of 1-inch round bar, 1/8 wall thick, okay? And what I got done, I got a cut on the back side, like this here, and I'll show you why. What I want to do is I want this here to come out, and then the door bar comes in. I got this cut, so this here lines up with the bottom of the door bar, flush this way, see? So I got it set up like that. Now, I've been playing around with the idea because I want the front to step up, then if I turn the bar upside down, I'll raise the bar up, okay? It doesn't come up the inch, it comes up only 1/4 of an inch by doing the difference in that, because the distance is from here only to here, okay? Because I'm using the top of this one here and the top of the other one, but when it's flipped over, it doesn't seem to be much. So I'm playing around with some ideas here. I think I'm going to mount this one anyway on the top and the back one on the bottom. And like, I played around with some ideas, thinking about it and everything, but I'm just thinking about what it's going to look like underneath the car. Because if I put it on the bottom, I put a big step up on it, the floor is going to be up here. This is going to be a bar. This is going to be floating underneath the car. And it's just like, I don't know. I like to have the metal come up and go off of this and down. I might bite the bullet and just put this on the top and then run it straight back, and whatever the angle of the seat is on, the angle of the seat is on. I think I'm going to do that first, and if I'm happy with it, I'll leave it alone. I'm overthinking things, and I always say don't overthink things, because I want this to come up. I can always cut it, just raise the front up a bit and put a block underneath it if I got to. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on top of the rail on the front and on the bottom of the rail on the back. So here's what it looks like in the car. You can see that it mounts in on the rail in there, and then it comes out, and that one there goes underneath the bottom of the rail, or the door bar. This one up here is up off the thing, and is on top of the rail. So it brings it up a bit, right? So I'm just hoping that's enough of an angle. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make the brackets now. I know for a fact that the seat the bar, when I was looking at it, can't come no further ahead than that. And the seat hole was about right here somewhere. So I'm just going to make 2 bars the length of the seat, and wherever the front rests, I'm going to put there, and then the back is just going to come forward to it, that's all. So this is what I come up with. I got 2 of these made. It's 3/16 by 1.5 inches. Might be overkill for some, but no, it's just going to bolt on there, and then that'll be welded onto the bars on the cars, the bottom of the seat. So I got 2 of them. I throws nothing out. I have a bin full of washers here. Going through, and I had a bin of bolts out earlier. I found a bunch of header bolts. Still be temporary for now to bolt this on. I'll get it all new hardware when it comes time, but I hate the thought of when you're bolting something together and you haven't got stuff there, so I had to go through my washers and my bolts and get a bunch of stuff. Get that bolted on now and fit in place. It's tricky. I got the front bar pretty well. I got the top side of it welded in on both sides, so strong. And I've been playing around mounting the seat in place, fitting it up, putting it in. I can't get it to sit like in there. I'm trying to get it so that the top of this plate is the same height as the frame rail. I can't move it forward in there because I haven't got these cut too short. I should have cut them longer if I wanted to do that and mount them on top. But I'm going to go with my original plan, mount the forward of it. So all I did is I played around with it, moved it around. The problem, I got them so close to the frame rail over there that when I lowers the seat down, it brings up over here, so I had to pull it over this way a small bit. It's still centered in the car. I'm still having troubles with it. I'm figuring this here, I measured it up. This here is square, okay? I X'd it up, that's square. So what I had to do is I welded 2 of them together. I'm going to bolt it from the seat. I can't weld this bracket into the seat on it because these plastic seats can't put too much heat in them. I just got a couple of quick little tacks now laid in place there, and hopefully they don't break off on me. And I got a mark right here where the outside section will go. And I'm going to weld it, that one there. Tack weld there, tack weld that there, and I'm going to tap this back so it falls where I want it to, and then tack weld 2 of them on, and make sure that the bolt holes are parallel to that. So, let's see what I come up with. Well, I got it tacked in place. Well, let's go over the troubles that was wrong with it. Where it's bolted to the bottom of the seat's not level, so one was twisted this way, and the other one was twisted that way. So when I welded the brackets on, they were welded on, and the brackets were twisted. Fitting into place, trying to get it all just so. Tack welding it on. Oh, I'm telling you. But I got a tack welded on there now. Now, cross my fingers, I'm going to bolt the seat in and see if it is where I want it to be. Hopefully it's not hitting that rail. That's what I don't want to hit the rail there. I don't want it to hit the chassis back there. The angle, I can probably live with that. I'll see when I get it done anyway. So I'm going to bolt the seat in now. Before I goes and welds any of this up, I got to remove them 2 brackets. So I'm not going to remove nothing yet because I might have to cut all that out of it again. I'm going to bolt the seat in. Okay, I got it bolted in place. I got lots of room down here behind that. I've got over 1/2 inch on the back side there. Over this side here, she's a bit tight. Right? She's a bit tight on the frame rail right there. Right in there. See how tight that is? So I got to move the seat over just a smidgen. I sat in it, and no, it's got to come up in front. I don't like it like that. I don't like it when there's no support here underneath. I got long legs, and I like to have this here section of my seats higher. And the problem I'm having here now is that I'm sitting here now, and there's no support here. My legs are just coming forward like this here, and there's nothing around right here. So I'm going to raise that up a bit there. I'm going to move the seat over a bit and raise the front up. I'm going to raise the front up that 1/2 inch that I was going to do in the first place. So that's it. Anyway, take it out and cut it all up again. Well, all I'm going to do is let go of the brackets bit by bit. The problem with it is it would work perfect if I just had to tip it back. If I tip it back, I might get clearance though. Yeah, I think I'm just going to tip it back first. Not going to move the seat over, because when I tips it back, that there is going to rise up. So maybe there'll be enough clearance there then. Yeah, there's your plan. Wanted to find something 3/4 of an inch long. I could have sleeved off, cut off a piece of the other stuff, but I figured it would have been, you know, it's kind of hard to cut off a piece that size, 3/4 of an inch, and have it perfectly straight on either side. So I found this old flat bar. Bit rusty, but I cleaned it up. And that's exactly 3/4 of an inch, so I'll just cut off the front and I'll raise it up that there. My new seat risers. Get them in. Plan is here now. Got them 4 spot welds, and hopefully the back ones don't break. Just raise that up, slide it in, tack weld it in place. And there we go. Seat riser installed. Test fit, take 2. So I got the seat bolted in there. I sat in it. It sits perfect. It's the perfect height in the front now. Everything is good that way, okay? So I got the height there every time, but there's problems. It's touching back here now, okay? I thought I lifted it up, thought I had an inch on the front, but for some reason it's not letting me have it. That's a problem there. And over here, I thought by jacking it up it would clearance it, but no. She's tight in that very corner. Right there, just a smidgen. I goes putting sheet metal and all this now. That's just going to all be a nightmare trying to bolt it in. The seat's going to rub. You'll put a hole in the seat. And, you know, so I got to move the seat ahead about 2 millimeters and over about 2 millimeters. That's for you metric guys, right? For you standard guys, 1/32 of an inch. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the seat out of it, cut the bracket off it. I'm going to mark where's two on the car now. So I'm going to weld the front tabs onto it so they're solid. And then I'm going to mark the whole works. I'm just going to slide it over a small bit, slide it ahead a small bit. And that should be fine. So I went ahead and I moved it over this way 1/8 of an inch. And I moved it this way 1/8 of an inch. What's that? 3 mils? 4 mils? Anyway, so I got that done. While I was at it, I had the bracket taken off, so I went ahead and I welded them up solid, grinded and dressed them so they look nice, welded them on the back side. So now I just got to weld down the 4 corner sections of it, right? So now, here we go again. Test fit number 3. There it is, bolted in. My feeder gauges, look at that, look. Clearances right along through there. I can put a lot of metal in there, it's a bit of play there. That's perfect. The other side, the back, on the other hand. That must be pretty tight there. You can see light through it, it's still touching. I'm going to grind the end of the rail off. If I got to, I'll cut a section out of it. I still got to put a brace on the back of this thing, on the back of this seat from the roll cage, and it goes around. I got to put a brace to it. So that's it. But I'm happy with that too. Okay, so I'll clean all that up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in there now and go ahead, weld that up, move them old braces and everything out of the way, and then grind up that spot on the frame rail and fit that in there for one last time. So there we have it. I got it all welded in there. It still has to be welded from the bottom side. Same with these pipes. I'm going to do that, like I said, when I put it on, that takes the body off it. I'll be able to move it around, flip it on the side and whatever. I also grinded this area up here, just the top side here, just to get a bit more clearance. There was a bit of welding and everything here. I would have done that anyway if I was putting sheet metal over it. So that should be fine. If not, if I got to, I'll cut a little piece out of it. I'm not going to get into moving this no more, moving it ahead anymore. No, I'm not getting into it. I'm happy where there's two there now. So I got it all welded in there. Got to let it cool off. That's all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt the seat in for one last time. And there you have it. One driver's seat. There's nothing to that. Just bolted in. I got clearance down and out. I say a few of you were screaming at the screen, Tony, oblong the seat holes. I just oblong the seat holes. I could have done that. I could have. Yeah, I could have. I probably still can. But anyway, I got the seat mounted. That is a undertaking in itself. Trying to figure out now, I got to do the passenger side. I got to pick up some more of this pipe. I got no more pipe. I'm not going to worry about all that right now. I'm worried about all the main stuff to do. That's duplications on the other side when it goes to go time to go at it. And I got to mount a whole bunch of other stuff yet. But I got the seat mounted, so that's the main thing. I'm going to work on up here next. So that fits really good, that do. Perfect, look, I can stretch my legs out. I got room here on the sides. I can run my hands down here inside. I'm still inside the car on this side here, so there's lots of room there for the door bar and whatnot. I got to figure out my shoulder harness bar. I think that should be fine on the center there. It's got to be an inch below my shoulder, the harness bar, but it's got to go back. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So it was a big undertaking. Had to move the frame rails in, had to make seat mounts. So it was, you know, it was a lot of work. But I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips are good, and until next time. I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, hit like and share. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe down the bottom of the page. If you want to donate to the channel, down below there's a button, super thanks button. If you want to click on that, it'll take you through the motions of making donations to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We also got merchandise. Pop over to Fitzy'sFabrications.com and check out our merchandise. We have hoodies, sweaters, t-shirts, and stickers. Lots to choose from. Thanks for watching. Didn't think I was going to leave without making car noises, did you? Steering wheel's next, I love.